Hello and welcome to National Focus. I'm Daryl Titt. In the headlines, National Health Commission pursues responsibility in healthcare delivery. Digitization of services offered by the public service will improve delivery of service. And officials from the Ministry of Education report on successful staging of Grade 6 National Assessment. Details of these headline stories and more when we return. Welcome back. The National Health Commission, which was established by Cabinet in September of 2017, has made recommendations for the improvement of health services in Dominica. These recommendations include bills for hospital authority legislation, medical professionals, nursing professionals, pharmacy professionals, and allied health workers. These bills are expected to go before Parliament in September 2020. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit says the National Health Commission is well on the way to improving the quality of healthcare services in Dominica.
The Health Commission was established in 2017 by a decision of the Cabinet, and its work is now well underway to improve the quality and the effectiveness of healthcare services to our nationals and visitors. Indeed, the fundamental objective of the National Health Commission is to ensure that the common man, that is every one of you, and indeed every one of us, can benefit from improved delivery of services at all levels of the health system.
Meantime, former President of Dominica and member of the National Health Commission, His Excellency Mr. Eliud Williams, has disapproved suggestions that the new Dominica-China Friendship Hospital is to be privatized.
We like to refer to it as a national hospital. It is financed by government, and we expect that to continue because, in fact, the world is moving more and more towards universal access. So at no point have any work we've done or have we tried to convey in any way that the hospital is going to be privatized. In fact, it can't be because it is Dominica's hospital.
Mr. Williams says changes are coming for the management of the hospital. The Hospital Authority Bill will make provisions for a chief executive officer.
It is important that we have the new legislation in place because currently there is no provision for recruiting a CEO at the hospital. The tripartite or triumvirate arrangement which exists there we know is not functional and it has to change. But to bring in the CEO has to have specific functions, and this must be within.
The Commission is currently engaged in establishing a National Health Board to manage the hospital.
A nurse who should have rails on the bed of a stroke patient because that's the right thing to do, that's the unwritten protocol. Failing to put that rail and the patient falls over. In the new dispensation, there will have to be a report. Why is it wasn't done? So one thing that would be very different is that staff at the hospital, lab tech, x-ray, doctor, everyone is going to be held responsible against predetermined actions. We are people, we seem comfortable to pick up the phone and call. You ask someone who has a complaint to write, there's a difficulty. We will make that easier. We're saying in the new arrangements, there will be a form. If a technician, a doctor, has to respond to a call, that must be documented. The time the call is made, when the doctor or the nurse or the lab tech responded, what action was taken, how it was taken, the time frame.
Mr. Williams says the new Hospital Authority Act may also include measures for medical practitioners.
There will be legislation that says if you are a professional working at the hospital, you will have to have your contract of service renewed periodically. And for that contract of service to be renewed, you will have to show that you have done certain minimum number of hours of continuing professional education. You have had to make rounds, you have done them. You have had to do a certain number of public patients who needs surgery. That's going to have to be done. That's going to have to be recorded. So essentially, what you will see in the new arrangement is that people will be empowered. Patients will know they have rights, and those who work to satisfy these needs will have to report on what they do.
Deputy Chairperson of the National Health Commission, Mrs. Jennifer Astafan, says any Dominican entering the National Hospital will be treated equally regardless of their wealth status.
What we're hoping it will look like is exactly set in the context of health as a right. The only public hospital on the island, and the question of payment for service at the point of service will be eliminated. In other words, there will be other mechanisms to pay. So whether you're from Pong, or you're from gutter, or you can't afford, or you've never worked, or your grandmother is 80 and you are 20 but you have a job, everybody who enters the hospital will be treated equally and will get the same care that the person who can afford, who has health insurance, will get.
Chief Personnel Officer Ms. Karen Prevost says a lot more can be done to improve the delivery of services of the public service to the public. Ms. Prevost says government is in the process of launching a service delivery improvement program through the Ministry of Governance and Public Service Reform. This will ensure that people conducting business at the government buildings will receive efficient and speedy service.
And that service delivery improvement program will help define models for service delivery, and our focus will be on people, processes, and systems. So sometimes when we think of service, we think of customer service. So people think, well, perhaps the individual who is serving me is probably not providing the best service. But outside of just people, we have systems and processes that also, cause issues in the system. So we are looking at the use of technology. How do we utilize technology to ensure that individuals can receive services in a faster and more efficient manner? Decentralization of services, I know that's something that you have spoken about, PM. We have people who live, in Marigot, in Portsmouth. Do they have to come to town to get some of the services? So we are working with the various ministries. We have conducted an assessment and prepared a database of all the services provided by government and we are looking at several aspects: the fees, the forms, the place where the service is being provided, the means by which the service is being provided, and assessing these aspects of the service, we are going to look at how can we improve each aspect of service delivery.
The Chief Personnel Officer says that the establishment of an e-payment portal will assist people in remotely conducting business. This is being done in collaboration with the ICT unit and the Ministry of the Digital Economy.
That is in advanced stages. We are working with the Ministry of Finance and the National Bank to ensure that we can have this e-payment portal launched very soon. And the idea would be that you can pay for basic government services, a driver's license. There are some services that already exist with the Inland Revenue, but we want to expand that. You may need a marriage license or, some other service, and you could just go online at your home and, make a payment, or someone can pay from overseas for you. These are some things that make things more efficient in the system.
The placement of kiosks at various government offices is another way in which the public service is making access to documents much easier for citizens. Money was also provided by the World Bank to make the digitization of the services offered by the public service possible.
We're looking at placing kiosks at various government offices so that you may not have to follow a line. You can fill out your application form from a kiosk, and then the application goes through. The ICT department is working on digitizing forms so that you would not have to print a form, write it out, and then walk to an office. You can go online, you can fill out the form, all the information goes to the office, they start processing it in advance. These are some ways that we see the public sector being able to provide improved delivery of the services.
In more news, Minister for the Blue and Green Economy, Agriculture and National Food Security, Honorable Fidel Grant, says he's proud of the various developments ongoing in the blue economy. Minister Grant says that one of the main objectives of the blue economy is the preservation of the country's marine resource.
In terms of the blue economy, one of the main things that we are looking at is the preservation of our marine resource and the boundaries, or so to speak, the beaches and upstream, because that is critical in terms of the survival of the marine resource. In terms of, prior to COVID, we were having discussion with National Geographic as they were working to come on island to do some exposure in terms of our coral reefs and how we go about restoring those coral reefs in areas like Champagne, because it's a tourism product. We have had discussions with the Ministry of Tourism. They are on board as well.
The Agriculture Minister explained that economic activity is on the rise in the blue economy. He noted that over 5,000 pounds of fish was recently exported to St. Kitts, and discussions are ongoing to expand to a larger market. He went on to say that the ministry will soon begin training sessions for the preservation of fish for local consumption and export.
But in terms of the economic activity within the blue economy, one of the areas that we are proud of and we are moving into is the export of fish. During the last month, we exported about 5,000 pounds to St. Kitts. We exported 2,000 pounds to St. Martin a few weeks ago. And there's a new market that we're hoping, if all goes well, we'll be doing somewhere in the region of 10,000 pounds of yellowfin tuna, marlin, and dolphin on a monthly basis. So that is an area that we are looking at. In terms of training and developing up new skills, as it is now, we are going to train some persons in the Newtown area in terms of drying and smoking of the fish, so that we add value in terms of the export and, of course, local consumption.
You're watching National Focus. More when we return.
Scary! Everything just shaking and making big, creaky noises.
Earthquakes, big and small, take place in the Caribbean at least 10 times a year.
The dishes rattling and falling and breaking. Then Vonnie started to scream.
All I could think to do was shout, "Get outside, get out!"
Earthquakes, hazards, take control, reduce your loss. If an earthquake hits, what can you do? Get down, get under an item of furniture like a table. Hold on and stay there until the quake passes. Find out lots more about earthquakes and other hazards at your local disaster office. A message from your National Disaster Office and SEDERA.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Blue and Green Economy, Agriculture and National Food Security, in collaboration with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, launched the Climate Change Adaptation of the Eastern Caribbean Fishery Sector project in Dominica.
The objective of this aquaponic CC4 fish project is to increase resilience and reduce vulnerability to climate change impacts in the fisheries sector. Aquaponics is the process of raising fish and vegetables in an integrated soilless system. Consultant for the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, Mrs. Mia Avril, says the materials for setting up the system cost approximately $300.
For this one, it costs under $300 to set up. We just use the pipes and the existing water feature that was there with some fish in it already.
She went on to list the recommended plants that interested persons could grow using the aquaponics method.
Ideally, we recommend growing leafy greens like your lettuce, your kale. You could do some of your seasonings. These are the kind of things that do well in aquaponic systems, especially the ones like these set up in the pipes. But you're not only limited to doing them in pipes. You could do it in gravel. You could just have your plants growing in gravel, or you could have it just floating directly on top of the water if you have styrofoam rafts. So the possibilities are endless with aquaponics.
Mrs. Avril encouraged individuals who are interested to contact the Ministry of Agriculture. She says the ministry is eager to assist persons with this new project.
We want people to know that anybody can do this with our help, and we want to help people do this. The project itself runs until the end of this year, the CC4 Fish project, that is. But by the end of this, the fisheries officers would be able to continue assisting persons. So this will continue as long as people are interested.
Fisheries officer Mr. Kurt Hilton is optimistic about the project. He says the project can be used as a source of income.
We are hoping that as many persons get involved in aquaponics and even aquaculture, because what we realize is that it can provide a source of income and it can also provide an alternative source of protein for persons who will be raising animals such as tilapia or prawns.
Mr. Hilton says special requirements are not needed to begin the project. Therefore, persons should take advantage of this opportunity.
We are hoping that farmers apply, but it is also open to regular persons. Remember, it is soil-less farming, so you don't have to be weeding, and it makes things a little bit more easier on persons who are not able or even have land space to do regular farming. We have no specific requirements as of now because we use PVC pipes and different ponds. You are able, as long as you have is a water source, because you can do rearing of fish in barrels or containers.
The 6 other countries participating in the climate change adaptation in the Eastern Caribbean Fisheries Sector project are Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Trinidad and Tobago. Octavia Prosper for the Government Information Service.
Minister for Tourism, International Transport and Maritime Initiatives, Honorable Denise Charles, says that although LIAT is currently in the process of liquidating, this will not affect access to Dominica, as government is currently negotiating with other airlines to provide service to Dominica.
The unfortunate news of the liquidation of LIAT has caused some anxiety in the market, but I want to make all Dominicans and all potential travelers to Dominica, including Dominican nationals abroad, that the gap that LIAT has created has also created opportunity for many other agencies. So right now, the ministry has received over 5 proposals, which we're assessing, and we'll be able to make an announcement once we've completed our assessment. So rest assured, air access to Dominica will not be limited. In fact, it may actually expand.
Officials from the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training and National Excellence are reporting smooth sailing for the execution of the 2020 Grade 6 National Assessment exams. The assessment was held on Tuesday, July 7, 2020, and had major adjustments made due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Senior Education Officer with responsibility for curriculum, measurement, and evaluation, Mr. Robert Gist, says they received positive reports from all supervisors.
The exams generally went very well. The exams was expected to start at 8 o'clock. Students were asked to be there by 7:30. When we went to the centers, most of the officers reported that students were there well before 7:30. Also, the supervisors, the 108 supervisors plus the 216 assistant supervisors, which were selected to monitor and supervise the exams, were there well before 7:30. Students' hands were sanitized before every exams. We did not do the temperature screening as we promised the parents, but that was on the advice of the Ministry of Health, who indicated that it was no longer necessary. However, at some schools, the district nurses still came and they did the temperature screening with the students.
Mr. Gist says that marking of the papers have already begun, and the Ministry of Education is working to get the results out as soon as possible.
As of yesterday, we started reading the supervisors' reports, and as I said earlier, there was no news to report on in terms of any abnormalities in the exams. So from today, Wednesday, we will begin the marking. We'll begin the marking of the exams, and we're hoping that by next week we would have the first draft of the results and decide on what happens next. We know that parents are excited. We know that there's a very short period now for purchasing of books, purchasing of uniforms, deciding on which schools the students are going to. So the Ministry of Education, we're going to try our very best to release the results as quickly as possible. However, the determination is not necessarily by, the determination of when the results are released is not necessarily by the Ministry of Education, solely by the Ministry of Education. but we will try our best to have the results out quickly so parents can be at ease.
This year, 852 students wrote the Grade 6 National Assessment exams, with 394 girls and 458 boys. Of course, all of us here at the Government Information Service wishes the students who wrote the exams a great success. And now for your weather update. A high pressure system is expected to begin rebuilding across the area during today, resulting in a relatively dry atmosphere and occasionally breezy conditions. However, by tomorrow, a weak trough could result in occasional cloudiness with a few scattered showers. Meanwhile, a tropical wave located in the central tropical Atlantic is expected to approach the area during the weekend. Moderate seas are expected during the next 24 hours, with waves peaking at 8 feet. A small craft advisory is in effect for above normal seas. Small craft operators and sea bathers, particularly on the East Coast, are advised to continue to exercise caution. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. Be sure to follow GIS Dominica on Facebook, YouTube, as well as on Twitter. You can also drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm. From all of us here at the Government Information Service News Production Team, I'm Darrell Titt. Thank you for watching.